Paul and Barnabas showed up in Antioch after their trip to Jerusalem with their bro John Mark. Following the Holy Spirit, they bounced from Antioch and set out on their first mission adventure. First, they set out to Salamis, where they taught mainly in urban cities and in Jewish synagogues. They crossed the island where they came to the city of Paphos. There were tons of interesting people for them to teach, Jewish sorcerers and false prophets. Feeling the Spirit on him, Paul called out a sorcerer, Elymas, for his evil works leaving him blind. After sailing to Perga, John Mark ditched and went back to Jerusalem.
We are never, ever, ever getting back together. We are never, ever, ever getting back together.
Paul was not a fan.
What you say? That you only meant well, 'cause you did. What you say? That it's all for the best.
In the next leg of their missionary journey, Paul and his crew traveled to Antioch of Pisidia. With great zeal, Paul basically took over all of the preaching in the city. Throughout the course of his stay, the whole community came to hear the word of the Lord. Paul's teaching in Antioch was so powerful that Jewish leaders in the city became extremely perturbed. They continued to stir up trouble for Paul and Barnabas until finally they kicked the two out of the city.
That's against the rules, and you can't sit with us.
Whatever.
You can't sit with us!
In Iconium, they were super effective, and loads of Jews and Greeks believed their message. Some of the Jews were salty about it and encouraged others to reject Paul and Barnabas, wanting to stone them. In light of this, they decided it was best to leave and set out for Lystra. In Lystra, Paul and Barnabas performed miracles to the power of the Holy Spirit. When crowds saw what they did, they thought they were the Greek gods Zeus and Hermes. The two were distraught by this and tried to point the crowd towards the truth of the gospel. The salty Jews showed up and convinced the people to stone Paul. They believed Paul to be dead and dragged his body outside of the city.
Is this a dead man, Doctor? Very dead, Mr. Spock.
Wait, he isn't dead! Shy surprise!
Much to the Jews' chagrin, Paul was still alive. The next day, he and Barnabas left for Derbe. They preached again in Derbe and gained many disciples. After Derbe, they returned through Lystra, Iconium, and Antioch, strengthening and encouraging the disciples. They also appointed elders with prayer and fasting. Then they went to Italia and sailed back to Antioch. Hello, and thank you for joining us again today on Lights, Camera, Acts. I'm your host, Barbara O'Connell, and today we have John Mulholland here.
The third.
I'm sorry?
John Mulholland the third.
Oh, my apologies. I'm very sorry. We have John Mulholland III, I'm sorry, our consultant here on historical context. And he is going to tell us today about the life of Paul, particularly his first missionary journey.
All right, so Paul started in Antioch of Syria. Antioch of Syria is the capital of the Roman province in Syria, and it was the focal point for Christianity.
Sounds very serious.
It was on a fertile plain and next to the Orontes River. Next, he went to Salamis, which is on the island of Cyprus, and it is on the eastern shore.
I'm sure of that.
Tradition says it was founded by Teucer on his return home from the Trojan War.
I'm sure he was very done with horsing around.
Next, he went to Paphos. Paphos is on the western side, and there are actually two Paphoses, Old Paphos and New Paphos, which is 10 miles away. And there's a temple there to the Syrian god Astarte and Aphrodite to the Greeks. Next, he sailed to Perga. Perga was back on the mainland. And this settlement dated the prehistory, and it had a temple of Artemis.
Would you say the people there went to purgatory?
Next, he went to Antioch of Pisidia. It was founded in about 300 BC, and it was made a Roman colony in 6 BC. And there were sculptures there and statues that were on par with Rome. Next, he went on to Iconium. Iconium was famous for its wheat fields, apricots, and plum orchards. It was also a major trade point between Syria, Ephesus, and Rome. And the Greeks said that the name came from Prometheus and Athena breathing life into humans after there was a great flood.
That's extremely interesting. Tell me more.
Well, after that, he went to Lystra. And Lystra had a local tribe with its own dialect. Also, they worshipped Zeus and Hermes there, and
Would you consider them experts in hermeneutics?
maintained contact with Iconium, which was over political boundaries. Next, they went into Derbe. Derbe had a customs station that would trade with Iconium's region, and they also spoke a different dialect.
I'm sorry, John, that's all the time we have for today. Join us next week for the story of Ananias and Sapphira.
That sounds like a killer story.